Maria Ygnacio Creek is proud to present this information from its Ocean Guardians elective class. Us students have put together a brief summary of what we do and have done in the class. We want to communicate the connections from our watershed to the Channel Islands, the chemistry results recorded from our creeks, the cleanup projects, the biodiversity of the environment, and some of the recommendations that we have. I hope that this brief presentation will motivate the residents of our area to keep our creeks clean.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm here to talk about the Maria Ygnacio watershed. It begins a little above Bjorkland Ranch, and it travels all the way down to next to where our school is, which is Home-Based Partnership, past Patterson Bike Avenue, and then out in the Goleta Slough. So as you notice at the very top of the creek, there's lots of trees. There isn't any really homes around here. You can see it's pretty clean looking. Then around where our school is, you can notice there's a bridge. It's gone through some neighborhoods and a little bit of agriculture. And then right here, it's gone through business places and agriculture and lots more neighborhoods. See, it doesn't look very good. And it comes out on the Goleta Beach. And then it all the way goes out to the Channel Islands, which is bad because all that our creek holds, what our creek contains, is styrofoam and plastic bags and all sorts of other stuff. And the fish and birds think it's food, and then they eat it, and they die, which is really sad because that albatross right there just died.
Hi, my name's Sam, and I'm going to talk about some of the results that we've had in our water testing throughout the year. So first, I need to say that the water gets progressively better as we go through the year. So in fall, it was really bad, and in spring, it's been pretty good. And I think this might have been because the water gets washed away in the big rains during the winter, which takes it out to the oceans and to the Channel Islands. Also, as we go downstream, the creek gets progressively worse because there's more garbage brought along in the creek. So there are a few terms you guys need to know before I keep explaining. There's dissolved oxygen, which is the amount of oxygen in the water, and that's important for fish to breathe. There's pH, which is the amount of acidity in the water. You don't want it to be too basic or too acidic because then life can't survive in the creek. There is nitrates, which is the NO3. And nitrates aren't very good because they cause algae blooms, which aren't bad if they're in small amounts, but if they're too much, they will cause lots of bacteria to come, which will then consume all the oxygen and cause all the life in the creek to die. There is salinity, which is the amount of salt in the water, and you don't want that because then it isn't drinkable. And turbidity, which is the amount of dust in the water, which you don't want because then it's cloudy and gross. And then the coliform. And that's not good at all because that's the amount of poo bacteria in the water. And it's not good for people when it goes out to the beach because then it's unhealthy. So, from the fall, you can notice that at the top in Bjorkland Ranch, we had 100% dissolved oxygen, and at the bottom, it was really bad at 51%, where life can't really survive with that much. Also, you can notice that the coliform, that's at the bottom, gets progressively worse. So it's at 875 down at the bottom, while it's only at 200 at the top. And that's not good. And as you can see, the green's good, and the red is pretty bad. In the spring, we had the similar results in some ways, but it got a little better. So as you can see at the top, the dissolved oxygen is at 90% at the top, 71% in the middle, and then 91 at the bottom. So it's gotten a little better. And at the very bottom, you're at 560 coliform, which is still unhealthy for the creek life. Also, in the March, since the rains came in March, you can see that the creek is overall pretty good, except for at the bottom, there isn't much oxygen. Now I'm going to explain just sort of our results going through the year. So it's going to show the top and the results through the year, and then et cetera. So as you can see, the top's been pretty good through the whole year. except for in the fall when we had 200 coliform. In the spring, that was at Bjorkland Ranch. At our school, Home-Based Partnership, you can see that it's a little worse, but it's really good in the spring and not so great in the fall, because you can see it had 60% oxygen. And then down at the bottom at Patterson Bike Path, we can see that it wasn't very good in the the fall or the winter, because they had high coliform amounts and low oxygen in the fall. But it was pretty darn good in the spring, except for the 66% dissolved oxygen. So there you have the results.
So we've done a couple cleanup projects. We've done a rapid trash assessment along by our school. We've covered 100 yards of the creek. We collected 101 pounds of trash, and 45 of those pounds were recycling, and more than half of them were items of plastic, which, again, the fish and the birds would eat. We did a cleanup project on Santa Cruz Island. We pulled 30 full bags of invasive grasses and weeds from a restoration site, which was cool. And then we did a Ygnacio Creek habitat restoration, and we planted 86 native plants, and that was fun.
Okay, so a diversity of plants and animals in the creek is vital to its health. On our outings, we noticed that the cleaner the water was, the greater number and diversity of the animal life. One of these animals we saw was the Pacific mole crab. This tiny animal that buries itself in the sand to hide from its predators like seabirds, landbirds, and fish. What we learned from this study was how mole crabs help our watershed. Without them, we would not have a lot of plant and animal species that we have now. Thank you.
Here are the animals in the creek. For example, frogs, snakes, insects, and fish.
Invasive plants, non-native plants are bad for the environment because they choke out native plants, and that creates like a monoculture, only one plant type in some places. And also the non-natives wash downstream and spread seeds even out to the ocean and islands. And it's not the people who plant the non-native and invasive plants.
Hi, I'm Jade. I'm going to talk about recommendations for our community. We would like to make several recommendations. First, we would like to recommend banning plastic bags. I know it sounds crazy, but Ireland did it, and San Francisco is about to ban all plastic bags. Or, instead of banning plastic bags, making people pay for them, like in Europe, which will encourage people to bring canvas bags. Another recommendation are planting more native plants and cleaning up our watersheds. Some of the reasons these recommendations are important are because the invasive plants and trash wash out to the ocean and the islands. The invasive plants choke out the native plants and upset the ecosystem. The native plants that end up in our environment also end up in the ocean. They most likely look like jellyfish. Turtles and other sea life love jellyfish, but they can't tell the difference until after they eat them. The plastic does not digest in their systems, and they will die. As you can see, it is the great importance to ban plastic bags so that more sea life, which sustains us, will not become more endangered. Lastly, we would like to ask the Goleta City to help sponsor more education and cleanup projects. It would be
It would be great if more people knew about the importance of our watersheds to the ecosystem. We also would also ask for help to obtain permits and funding so that we can continue and expand our creeks and estuaries restoration cleanup. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Are there any questions?
Questions?
You've left us speechless. How did you guys come up with this idea?
I'm not, does anyone want to answer that?
It's part of a grant that we applied through the Home-Based Partnership for the Santa Barbara Marine Sanctuary, Channel Islands, so, and NOAA as well as part of that grant. And we live along the creek, so we want to take care of it.
I think I'm really impressed with the work that you've come up with, and I'm hoping that we in the city, as we have our stormwater projects, can look at the data that you've been gathering, and maybe we can use that as we move ahead. But you guys obviously worked very hard. Now, it looked like this is more than one grade level involved. Is that right?
Yeah.
Which grades?
It's more by ages. I think it's, I don't know who the youngest person is. Dylan, how old are you? 8 to, I guess, 14.
So so you're all homeschooled
Yeah.
children? Okay. So you're not in regular classes at the charter school? Well, as I say, I'm really impressed with what you've come up with, and I'd like it if we could get a printed copy of some of your information. That would be great.
Can I say something?
Ms. Brody?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I, too, want to echo our mayor's words. I'm very impressed with your data and all the work that you've done. It's very informative. And I'm hoping that we can continue to have presentations like this by our young folks. I think it'd be really beneficial. We have a lot to learn from you. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very, very much for coming and sharing with us all the work you've been doing. It was really excellent and some good lessons for all of us.
Thank you.